So now you're at Picture Lock. How are you feeling?
I felt great. I felt like the film wasn't 100% what it was on page, but I often don't think that's the case. And I think a lot of, filmmakers who've been doing it much longer than I have would, attest to that. Like, you write this thing, you shoot this thing, and then you find out what that thing is in the edit. So that's where the story is like finally told. Like, you write it and you're just like, okay, I got the story, but that's not the end of it all, because once you go into production, you may have to lose a scene. You may have to lose characters. You may want to add on some stuff or whatever, and you find some new stuff, and then you go into the cutting room floor, and then it's like whatever you're left with, it is what it is. So I felt good once it was locked, but I also knew that music and sound and color was going to like take it to the next level.
And so now you mentioned finished it either around the end of 2018 or early 2019?
I finished it in the fall of 2018.
Obviously, when the first time, at least I saw it, was in the middle of the pandemic. Did you go right into festival run?
I couldn't. I couldn't go into the festival because it wasn't done. And so what ended up happening was I got the finishing funds 2 years later in 2020.
Oh, wow.
This is the pandemic. Between like once it was like locked and then getting the finishing funds, the first festival I submitted to was like Sundance.
We all do, right? Every film that we do, we submit to Sundance.
It did get in, and then I was like, okay, maybe I'll submit it to like South by. But the thing was, I didn't have any finishing funds, so I was like, unless it gets into like a really huge festival, I'm not gonna be able to finish this film. So I was like, there's no point in me like submitting it to festivals. It only went to 2 festivals, and that was ABFF and the Pan African Film Festival. Yep. But again, this is during the pandemic, so it's not like I could actually go to these festivals, do like the Q&A and all that jazz. I do believe it could have had a bigger and better festival run, even given that it's a comedy drama, like it's a dramedy film. I had to wait to get the money because all the deals I was getting, even though you were like giving me the money, it was just like not good. So I was like, well, I'll just wait to get the money.
What did you need that money to do? Was that music?
Yeah, music, color, and sound. Okay. Just to do, and then E&O insurance, which, it's definitely one of those things where they will tell you these things when you go to film school, but it's a different thing when you're actually doing the thing, and you realize how much you need to have for like your deliverables. I literally at my house right now, I still have like either 3 or 4 extremely large folders of paperwork for Welcome Mat. One's for like cast, one's for crew, one's like cost reports. So it's like I had to take all these files to Staples and pay them probably like a couple $100 to like scan everything and put it like on a
digitize it.
Yeah, like on a USB flash drive for the distributors, because apparently somebody needs this to like, I don't know who job that is, but yes, you need like E&O insurance and all
Errors
that.
and omissions.
Like errors and omissions. And so that's what I needed the money for. And so I get it in 2020, and people are already interested in like doing a deal for it. It is the pandemic, so people do things like, oh, Leon did like a pandemic film during the pandemic. I did not. Like, I wrote and directed this like 2 years before there was a pandemic.
Did it rock you at any of like you made this film before you had some big names in it? I mean, this is like the first feature filmmaker's dream, making a contained film with some name talent in it, and then obviously between the needing finishing funds plus the pandemic, were you feeling kind of down, or like did it rock you?
Yeah, it definitely did. I mean, a lot of people said that the film came out in a better time during the pandemic just because people could like relate to it so much more. And I do think there's something to speak to that. But then it's like one of those things where, had I finished the film and did a festival run like 2019, 2020, and it's out in 2020, it's still out during the pandemic. Like I didn't know there was going to be one. So I still felt like if anything, then it's just like hitting people real different because like, oh, I'm going through this. But in both cases, even though I got like a limited theatrical release, like people weren't ever going to see it in theaters the way they probably would have been able to see it had there not been a pandemic. I saw the film personally in theaters a few times myself, so that was an amazing experience. And going to go get like the movie ticket and having that and jazz and everything was great. No, it wasn't an ideal situation.